order. Roll call, Terry, please.
Burns.
Yes.
Sharpton.
Here.
King.
Here.
Calder.
Here.
LaChose.
Here.
Lehman.
Here.
Morgan. Here. Mosier.
Here.
Osborne.
Here.
Dahl.
Here. Please stand and face the flag for pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 6. Terry, please.
The Finance and Rules Committee has met and they recommend to waive the rules to act upon late resolutions this evening.
Need a motion? Tom, second by Ron. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Privilege of the floor. I'm going to save that till the end after we have this discussion. If anyone has a comment at that point, they can offer it, but I think it's premature to try to do that now. So, reports of standing committees. Any standing committee have anything they'd like to report on? If not, we'll move directly into discussion. So, Jerry, would you like to have the discussion on the building process off?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and stuff. Been talking to Larry and Ryan. I think I want to do due diligence to where we're going to end up, if at all. So I guess one of the questions is that we need to bring up for discussion. There are some points if the building goes downtown, potentially it could help with development and this and that. So that's something that we need to look at and discuss. Where we've talked about before, there's questions that we have on the existing design that Rick Tagg's here to answer. But after our discussions and stuff like this, what I would like to do is kind of get a consensus whether we're willing to, one of the questions that's come up, I'm open for it. It's however it shakes out is what we're going to do. Maybe we want to scrap the building we have and redesign it. See what the cost is to do that or start over completely. It's just an option. The other thing we need to kind of figure out is that potentially we're setting right now at 12.5 million is what we feel we can do one for. One of the things is, and I'm not sure because it's changed, do we want to downsize it a little bit regardless of where it goes? So we're going to start this discussion. I don't know. I think I've covered everything. And hopefully we'll get an idea of what direction the majority of people want to go tonight so we can start doing something. And the thing is, if we can't get a kind of rough decision, what we'd like to look into, because there's probably going to be questions tonight that we can get answers to by when we have our committee meeting and stuff, and kind of keep plugging along on this so we figure something out, because the study hinges, if we do the building, it solves a lot of the problems, and if we don't do the building, then we got other problems. So I think the biggest thing is where the majority of people feel it should go, and if it's going to cost more money to downsize it and put it elsewhere than the price tag we have to build it, are we willing to spend a little extra more to get it right? So that's where we're going to start, Dick.
Yeah, I agree with everything pretty much that you said. My thinking is we're in a process where we're going to decide the building what have you. I think the first question we should ask ourselves and get some kind of understanding on is how many of us want to build a new building. Because if there's a majority of us that don't want to build a new building, there's no sense in sitting here tonight wasting our time. And then secondly, if there's enough of us that do want to build a new building, I think we need to have a price we're willing to commit to. And then go from there and do what you said, do the discussion.
Yeah. Anybody else while we're talking and stuff like that?
Well, I guess I would say I'm personally opposed to using the 8-year-old drawings in that project. I think we should start from scratch.
Okay. I mean, we'll discuss it and stuff like that. I guess the first thing, are we even interested in the building? And what, anywheres, and what would be the limit that people are willing, if we incur more of a cost than this, are people willing to do it? So, can we get something there?
My feelings are, why should we spend more than the 12.5 we were estimated to spend to begin with?
Well, I mean, it's just looking at different options and see if we feel it's right. There's 10 of us that make this decision. And, I mean, we need to give it a fair shake, so we need to discuss it. When we vote on it, then we make our decisions. So, we have no idea which way it'll go. I mean, we don't even know if there's enough votes to do any building.
Well, then let's make a motion if we want to build a new building.
Yeah, I mean,
I make a motion. How many? I make a motion to build a new building.
do we have a second? I'll second it. So,
Let's vote.
yeah.
Well, hold on a second. Is there any discussion on that? You know, I would agree that we need to do something, but, you know, I think before we decide we need to build a new building, that we need to look into exactly what the options are. I think since the time that this building was designed, our needs have changed, our visions have changed. We recognize that we have other infrastructure issues that need to be addressed also. So instead of jumping right into deciding whether we're going to build a building or not, I think it would make more sense to try to form an ad hoc committee or something like that, get some input from the community, legislators, department heads, and see what the current feeling is on what the community thinks, which way we should move forward. So that's my thought. If you would like
We
to vote
tried-
on this.
Chairman, we tried to commit to form an ad hoc committee 4 months ago. The group of 10 wanted to do it as a group of 10. So what's the sense of even going down that road?
Personally, I feel the reluctance to move forward with this is the fact that a lot of the legislators weren't comfortable with the current design and were sort of dragging their feet because they weren't sure if that was the right answer.
Well, my motion is just to move forward with the process. We don't have to decide on what design, but I think instead of wasting our time and wrapping our gums for the next 6 months, whether or not we're going to change designs or go with what we have, let's make a decision that we're going to move forward in one shape or form, that we're going to commit ourselves to build a building. I don't care what it is. Let's make a commitment now so we aren't dragging our feet like we've been doing.
I'm not trying to drag our feet. I'm trying to make sure that whatever we do...
Well, we are, Chair. We are dragging our feet because we never discuss it.
Well, and that's it. We've spent time for informational meetings and this and that, and it's not a rush. I mean, the big thing is, are we going to build the building or not, or even ascertain building the building? And I think that's one of the things we need to figure out. I mean, the building, and if people want to change it, whatever the majority wants to do, I have no problem with that. But on the same aspect, we're sitting at the same building that was okay X amount of years ago. Yes, it's changed, but one of the questions is, if we downsize it 10%, is it going to cost us more than if we built the building the way it sits? Because I think we have discussions that my thing is that if we build exactly the same size or we go down, are we going to incorporate everybody in the building, or are we going to leave DMV where some people think it ought to be in this and that? So, I mean, I do think we need to start the concept of the building, and, you know, if we can get the 10, or a small group with legislators and stuff like this, to move it forward, or all 10. But what we've had is meetings and we don't make any decisions. And if people have a problem with it, let's discuss it and correct it. That's what we're here for.
I agree that we should continue to move the process forward and study the issue. I'm not sure that in that process we will either build a new building or we may get by with renovating an existing one. So I guess to your motion that we're going to move forward and build a building, I would be more comfortable if it were that we were going to move forward and study the process and try to figure out how to fix it.
And that's fine, whether we want to renovate or not. I don't care. If you want to phrase it that way, we can do it.
What are we renovating?
Well, potentially it'd be the old DSS building. You know, a 30-year-old building and stuff like this,
So
so.
it's at its life, and it's gonna cost us more to renovate than it is to, that makes
Well, I
makes
mean,
no
it's-
logical sense.
It's for discussion, so, I mean, if
We can
we,
discuss that, but we still need to know, is everybody in favor of, it's pretty simple, are you in favor of building a building or not?
some type, yeah.
Pretty
structure.
simple. That's all we need to know. Like, you take, then we know at least that the majority is in favor of building a building. Then we go through the process. If renovating is what everybody decides at the end of the process,
That's
then
what
we
we do.
renovate. But if somebody wants to go down that path, it seems, you know, I don't know why, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Well-
Renovate a 30-year-old building.
I'm going to go on record saying I'm not in favor of moving forward without public input.
Correct. Well, that's part of it.
So I'm not going to commit to
And that's part of it.
saying that.
I mean, we have public
So I guess
hearings.
to go to the ad hoc committee setup is what I'm leaning
But we tried that though, and everyone wanted to be involved
We did
in it.
we tried an ad hoc committee amongst the legislators. We didn't talk to the community or department heads, Brian.
Yeah, okay, so what are we gonna do, create an ad hoc to involve the community, department heads, and the legislators? We were put in here to office to make decisions. Yes, we take the community's input and we bring that to the rest of the 10 of us, but we were elected for a reason.
Have we got any input from the people yet on this?
I haven't heard anything negative about it, and it's been in the news, so.
And the thing
that's right,
is,
so-
how can we have any input when we don't know what we're
That's
doing?
right, you gotta have something to
We
present to
gotta
the
have something to
community.
present.
And if they don't like it, then we hear from them.
Then we hear from them,
And we change it around
the
again.
direction, so.
The
You know,
people in
Well, I
my,
can tell you this, excuse me,
Andrea, go ahead.
the people in my district are not in favor of a new building, from the comments that I've heard.
I was at a meeting last
Just
night,
want you
County
to know that.
Park, and they're staunchly against it.
Okay.
I was at the drainage meeting up in Harrisville last night, I brought it up, the price tag, and everybody was in favor of it, everybody. And these are older people that are retired.
I was in Turin last night and everybody was in favor of it.
Same way down in the southern part of the county. I mean, I think a lot of it, we gotta get the facts out. I mean, a lot of people are the impression their taxes are going up, it's gonna be this, that, and everything else. And you know, everyone sitting here is not gonna do it. We can build it with windmill money, which is what we agreed to do before for infrastructure. And the thing is that it does not cost the taxpayers anything. And that's the right thing to do. And the thing is, if we use it wisely to do the stuff we need now, and we build a 70 to 100-year-old building that'll last that long, we have something that's gonna keep giving back. If we frog around, eventually, we're gonna have to do some stuff, and we may not be fortunate enough to do what we need to do on the windmill money, it's the taxpayers. Now, think back on this, we did it unbeknownst. We built the courthouse, we used windmill money to pay for that, that wasn't an increase to the taxpayers. We built the radio system, which we paid $5.1 million for that, it wasn't an increase to the taxpayers. And we can build a new building to fit our needs, modernize, and streamlined, because the way we're going, spread out all over the county, it's costing us a lot of time, maintenance, plowing, and everything else. And I think these are some of the things that we've only got left that we can help the taxpayers in the future. And the bottom line, I would not vote for a building if we got to go to the taxpayers for it. And so the thing is people are saying this, that, and everything else, but until we know what we're doing and can present it, how do they know they're against it?
I agree with that 100%. You can sit here and talk about it, but you gotta make a commitment, and then you form your committees. When you can take stuff back to them and say, this is what we're looking at. You ain't even got a price tag, because we don't even know what we're doing.
We don't, that's it, we don't know where we're gonna end up. Whether we're downsizing or doing this, we're up in the air. So how can you present anything to the public? The only thing I can say right now, we took the building we had X amount of years ago, 13, so it was 6 years ago, turned around, it's exactly the same building we're starting with to see where we want to go. So that's the best presentation we can do. But we've got a lot of property sites. The big question is, and you know, if the legislators are willing to spend, I'm not convinced that we can take and start changing this building, whether we downsize or not, and stay at the 12.5 price tag wherever we build it. So the question is we need to make some of these decisions. Are we willing to bump it up to 13 or 14 million dollars that we are willing to invest in it to put it in the right place, whether it's downtown, whether it's up in the hill, or this and that, or do we want to just hodgepodge the stuff together? These are the discussions we have to have.
We had a projected, new building projected payments, back in March, using a $15 million figure.
Well, that's interest and everything.
That's everything.
Yeah.
With a 3% interest rate. So we do have some of that information. It's just, but is it going to work at that, or is it going to be more? We don't know until we decide if we're going to do anything.
That was based on us leaving it right where it was originally designed. So if we want to move it, and the majority of people want to do it, if they're willing to pay more, then I'm fine with that too.
I guess I'm not convinced that the design you got that was rejected 6 years ago is the design you should go with.
It wasn't rejected 6 years ago.
It wasn't built.
The reason
It wasn't built.
The reason it wasn't built is because they decided we needed a radio system more and
Right.
we needed a building. That's the
But
only reason it wasn't built.
We put changes in,
What's
that building has room for dispatch.
Yeah.
Do we need room for dispatch?
We don't know.
You don't know that.
Right, but I'm saying, we need to review it further before we go
The
further.
thing is, if they get thrown out of there, yes, we do.
The only reason that they're in the jail right now, Tom, is because we begged and pleaded with the commissions and corrections to leave them there because we didn't have space for them.
And there's only two, we're one of them, that's in that like that. So potentially, yeah, we may not need it, but down the road, we're talking about another building to fit our needs.
So then we're not sure what we need, because we may need it, we may not need it. That's what I'm getting at. I think we need a little bit more review
So
on it.
aren't you
So
better
there'll
off?
be a more expense to hire people in the jail if we take dispatch up to a new building. You're gonna need more people, you're gonna need women, you're gonna need women employed for the women and prisoners. So it's gonna be male and female that we would be hiring.
But the thing is, whether we want it or not, we might not have a
You might not
choice.
have a choice. The only reason we're there yet is because we're
But we
making.
really don't know, that's the hard part.
But isn't it better to build with the possibility that you might have to build a little extra space with that in mind?
I don't
That's all
know,
that I'm
we
saying.
built our house, but we didn't build it for 10 kids.
Well-
I don't know,
Well, if you would have had 10 kids, would it be expanded it?
probably, or we'd have dealt with what
All
we
right, would
had.
it cost
We
more
would
to
have lived with
expand?
what we had.
That's fine.
I'm hearing a lot of mights, maybes, and possibilities.
Yeah, well, that's life, isn't it?
Well,
We operate, this whole world operates on the what if.
I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, if people want to look at it, they're willing to spend more, let's have a vote on it. We'll go down and decide where we're going to end up. We need some direction. I don't care if we redesign it, this, that, or anything else. We need to have a discussion and move it forward.
Got to do something. You're renting
And once we
space.
decide, then the public is where we take it to and ask for a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Because it's funny that the last time we voted it down, a lot of people were disappointed because they thought we needed to do it. So, I mean, I'm just asking to move it forward and start looking at this stuff, not just sit here and bump on the log.
So your motion is to keep the process moving forward, form an ad hoc committee, and look to study the issue and find out whether we need to build a new building,
We're paying for it.
renovate.
And if you're ad hoc committee, the thing is, I think the legislators need to be on what they're willing to spend, not have somebody put an ad hoc committee together and dictate what somebody else wants to build. I think we need to set a price premium.
That's the second option, as I see it. First off, we got to know with the motion on the floor.
Well, it sounds like they're changing my motion, Dick, so. Everyone's changing it to what's best for them.
What is the motion, Brian?
The bill.
What was the motion? It was to make a decision whether or not we're gonna build some type of building for our space needs.
Did you second it?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor, roll call, Terry, please.
And this is whether we want to move it forward or not.
Burns,
No,
Chartran,
I want to see us go with the building. So, my understanding of that motion, I'll vote yes at this time.
King,
Yes.
Causer,
Yes.
Lachos,
No.
Yes.
Marahan,
No.
Mosier,
Yes.
Osborne,
No.
Dahlhoff.
No.
Vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 5, so the motion is defeated.
Well, then we
don't have to
can
stay.
call the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, no use sitting around.
I'll second.
So we do nothing.
Well, I was
Nothing.
thinking that we would have a motion to,
Nobody wants to move it forward, so it's
Motion
done.
to adjourn.
I'm not discussing stuff.
I got a second.
Got voted down not to build a new building. The only option you have now is to discuss whether you want to renovate your space. that you
Mr.
have.
Chairman, the motion to adjourn is not for discussion.
the motion to adjourn is now what?
It's on the table and is not for discussion. It's a vote.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, you did delay the ability of the public to comment, and perhaps that should be.
Oh, yeah, let
before
them
yes.
comment, even though we have made a decision, so.
So we got to do something with the adjourn motion.
I will say, are you withdrawing your motion to adjourn then at this time?
John, for a comment.
Public comment.
Sure.
Right, Ron, your second? You're withdrawing your second?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll open the floor for public comment. Anyone would like to make a comment, please come forward and state your name for the record. Yes, sir.
Well, Mike Strife, does the county, do we have money now to build this building?
Windmill
You
money,
have your
yes,
windmill
we
money.
do.
Do we actually have cash to do it?
You mean the total 12.5? No, we have $800,000 that's available to us every year from the windmill money, which the windmill money is not supposed to be used to balance our budget every year.
Then where would the additional money come from?
That would cover the payment on a 20-year bond, the way that we're the figures that we've gotten so far.
It keeps coming in, DSS will pick up, this is a quick figure, they're gonna take, if we built a new building that we're talking about, DSS will be 75% of the space, and they will pay 75% of their space cost. So in other words, right now, roughly, and don't hold us to the exact figures, between what DSS would pay us on their share over 16 years, it would be around $300 and some odd thousand a year, and the cost of the new building was in the $700 and $800 range. Correct me if I got it, I believe. So the county share would be $500,000 a year. So we do have the money, it would not be out of taxpayers' pocket.
Did we borrow money from the hospital?
The hospital paid us back and gave us some money.
The hospital borrowed money from us, but they've since paid us back.
Okay, so we did not borrow money from the hospital. We don't owe the hospital money,
No.
even though it's accounted to the county.
There is a outstanding loan with the hospital.
400, we had to borrow.
We did
This
have-
is shipped in for 400,000.
They chipped in, and the thing was, because it was a cost overrun for the building at JCC, because we didn't do due diligence on it. And the thing is that we could reach in our fund balance and pay that $2 million off, and we chose not to. So we really don't owe the hospital anything.
And the training center? Do we owe money on the training center?
What training center?
You mean JCC?
Yes.
No.
The only outstanding building payment you have is this building here, which how many years is left? The courthouse.
Lots.
We have probably 20 years.
And we restructured that, 5 years ago, right, Patty?
2008.
Yeah, 2008.
Everything else that we had under the sheriff's department's paid for, and the only thing we owe is this one building.
Okay, so moving forward, it sounds it is possible to build this building and not cost the taxpayers a pile of money.
Pennies.
No, shouldn't call it. I mean,
Any is a strong word.
yeah, any's a strong. It's cost you money because the windmill money's coming from the state and it's coming from the federal government. So yes, I mean, but directly out of our land tax money here in Lewis County, no. That payment would be fully out of the windmill pilot.
I see the public not understanding this whole process. And coming here tonight for a few minutes that I've been here, there seems to be a lot of disagreement amongst the legislators over just how to move forward. Doesn't seem to be any concrete dollar signs or estimates or anything like that of exactly what the building's going to cost, because we don't particularly know if we need a larger building, a smaller building, what's going to work. And the other part of that is the DMV move. I mean, are we leasing the building down there?
Yes.
How much does that cost?
$1,900 a month.
You know, it'd be nice if the public knew this. I do read the meetings and I read what's in the newspapers, and I just can't find this information anywhere. And what other organization in the county is also leasing or renting?
Board of Elections is leasing from Transitional Living Services, who owns the commons. So those are
And we moved out Office of the Aging because we had a little space up there.
Yes, it's up there.
So they would have been paying rent if we didn't have space for them. And that building's sitting right there. And putting it back up in the hill where it was originally designed for, good, bad, or indifferent, is $12.5 million to build that building. Now, some of the questions, and speak up, fellow legislators, there's a question whether we got more space than we need and whether we want to downsize. There's a question is that do we want to turn around and put it down here in the village on some place or this or that, and how much more is it going to cost us to change these?
All these questions don't have any answers, and I don't see how you, as a board, can move forward
Well, see, the thing is,
until you have some of this information.
That's what we're trying to do
It's not
tonight.
put together.
that's all I was trying to do tonight, is to get it to move forward, because to get answers to them questions, this gentleman that works for Bernier Carr, it's gonna cost us more money to get them questions. So if we downsize the original plans by 10%, they've gotta redesign that building, so your footers, everything from the ground up has gotta be redesigned if you're gonna downsize that building 10%. We have a few people that wanna put property within the village. So that, on top of that, then now you gotta do studies, you gotta do your soil studies, you gotta do your bore samples to see what kind of ground that you're working with. Those are all things we've gotta spend more money on.
See, another question is, there room enough up on Stowe Street to build a new building? We put money in a parking lot and lighting.
Yeah, but
Well, do you want to get rid of all that by moving the building somewhere else?
No, the building's gonna be right next to the PSB building. That part of the parking lot can still be utilized.
that's what we're talking about, but there's other people wanting to move it elsewhere, so we gotta decide. That's where we're having the problem now.
But if you want the public to back you, you've got to give them some information so they can give you some input.
Well, that's what we're really trying
Oh,
to
you're
do,
trying to do that, but you're
trying
kind
to move
of,
it forward. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if nobody can decide that they want to build a building anyway, then it's really hard to know what the costs are going to be until you say, yes, we're going to build a building.
but it's just all questions that you got to get some answers to
Yeah, but-
get it out to the public.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, I mean, we have a lot of the answers.
And the way that bill sets there, it's 12.5 million setting up on that location. And if we go anywhere else, I can guarantee we won't do it any cheaper. But there's some extra space out there we're not sure we'll ever need. So that's the big hang up. And we need to shrink it if we bring it down in the village.
Oh, by, all right.
Okay.
And
think we need-
be congested with traffic, you know, I mean, it would be a parking problem too, if we brought it down to the village.
We have rough estimates. We have this piece of paper with all the properties that were presented to burn your car. We talked about this 3 months ago. We have 12 properties here. The cheapest property to build on was one piece of, actually, it was a piece of property that we own, $12 million. That's what the projected cost was then, okay? To move to one of the other properties, which is out of the village limits, was $13.197 million. The two properties within the village were anywhere from 12 something up to 13. You know, so, and there's one in there for 18. So we had the figures there.
It's all good information.
That's all.
Gotta get it out to the public.
Well, I understand, but what's the sense of bringing it out to the public if we can't decide ourselves whether or not we want to build it? There's no sense of presenting it to you unless we know for sure here that we want to move forward with that. And that's all that that's all I was trying to accomplish tonight. And obviously, 5 voted no, so it's a killed motion, so.
So even if we moved it forward with including everything, we can't even do that and let you see everything we're looking at, so.
I think we had a consensus that we need to move forward and have a process, but before we could get to that, we had a motion to adjourn, so.
Yep.
Adjourn.
Yes, Mr. Jackson?
My name is Jimmy Jackson. I'm from down the southern end of the county. My take on the way we've been hearing right here today, you got a pile of windmill money burning a hole in your pocket. I think it could be spent a lot better than a new courthouse or a new county office building. There's other buildings that need to be renovated in the county.
Well,
and then another thing, this was put up for a public vote 6-8 years ago, and it went down in flames big time. The people don't want it. And if the consensus down on my end of the county, if it's put up for a vote again today, it ain't gonna fly.
Well, Fort Leiden seems to agree with it, and the town of Leiden were in favor of it and still are.
I'm from the town of Leiden, sir, and they're not.
Well, you're not at the town board meetings when we discuss it.
You can run me down, you can do whatever you want, I don't care.
And what we're trying to do,
It's not gonna fly down in the southern end of the county.
we need to do something with DSS to start with. That's 4-point-some odd million to renovate that. Then we're still renting all over the place, and we have no efficiency, so if you don't want it, that's fine.
What I'm saying is, if you got this windmill money burning a hole in your pocket, which it seems to be the way it is, you could use it a lot better for the people of the county.
Well, we voted that the windmill money is only to be used for infrastructure, not run the day-to-day budget of the county.
There's other buildings that need to be fixed in the county other than building a new one.
Well,
What one?
that's,
Are you talking DSS?
this is part of it.
The highway department needs to be done something with.
Right. We know
The
that.
whole extension building needs some money put into it.
Which one?
That's DSS.
DSS.
Okay.
That's $4.9 million, and then we haven't solved our problem yet.
Just throwing a bunch of money at a new building is not the answer. So the taxpayers of the county already are hurting bad enough. So if you guys try to add more tax to our tax burden. That's basically where I'm coming from.
Right, and what I was explaining to the gentleman up front here though, is that your land taxes aren't gonna go up with this new building. The windmill money will pay for that payment, okay? You can't use this windmill money to balance our budget. because the windmill money isn't steady all the time. It dwindles, like, so the Maple Ridge is gonna dwindle over the next 20 years. The new projects start out, but then when they renegotiate, that windmill funding drops, okay, through the pilot agreements. So you can't count on that, no different than we can't count on the sales tax revenue because it's up and down. You can't balance your budget with that. DSS building, which you're saying cooperative extension, we did the space study in our campus needs. That is #1 priority. Highway department's #2. DSS building is #1 priority to renovate. To renovate is 6.5.
4.9.
4.9 it
To
was?
renovate that 30-year-old.
And that's without the money from the state.
Yep, and that does nothing for anybody
Right.
else that doesn't have.
And that doesn't solve the rental space we have with the commons, where Board of Elections is weight and measures there too, you
Yeah,
said,
weights
right?
and measures.
And then we're running DMV, which we just moved in, so.
All right, you're saying that the taxes aren't going to go up.
Your taxes will not go up with the windmill money funding this project. Your taxes did not go up. What's that?
You're a firm believer that the sun came up in the west this morning. I'm sorry.
But nothing is guaranteed in life, sir.
I mean, what we've done so far, sir, with the new courthouse that we were forced to build, it was $13 million, and we've used windmill money, and we've never had a tax increase to pay for that building using the windmill money. And I'll get them to figure exactly what it is. Don't hold me to this, but I would say 7 to 8%. That if we didn't have that windmill money and we were forced to do it, so by using the windmill money, we saved you in your taxes, levying them to pay for that building. We built a radio project for $11.1 million and we used 5.1 of the windmill money. So your taxes didn't go up because of that. The only thing we've raised on taxes is day-to-day business of the county employees, raises, and stuff that we need to do to maintain these buildings. That building and the windmill was no taxpayer dollars. And this building, we do everything we could to make sure it's no taxpayer dollars too. Because if I gotta raise your taxes to build the building, we're gonna do something else. But my feeling is, if we do it right, it's gonna be when the windmill and stuff peters out and we don't have this, it's going to be money that gives back to you people because we built the infrastructure now. We don't have to tax you to build the infrastructure we didn't build.
Is there any other public comments? Motion on the floor to adjourn. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We adjourn.